You're right. You don't miss that. Yeah.
We're like,
You're correct.
Vicky, I'm just gonna ask you and Miss Leah to take over because I honestly.
well, that's fine. I was coordinating with Tim and I kind of thought maybe the best thing we do is just bring up the red line version. It's already been sat in. Where is it?
While we're getting started, Brett, would you mind introducing yourself to our?
Sure. Over here.
Brett Barker, I'm the legal intern here at the city for the next 2.5 months. I was at the mediation and now here I am serving again, so. U of I, yep, the Randalls. Yeah, got 1 year under my belt, 2 more to go, so.
See you from Idaho then?
I'm
Did you
from
go?
Moscow. So
Oh, okay, very
I used
good.
to work in Clarkston, so yeah,
Oh,
very
yeah.
familiar with the area.
Very nice.
And your dad was in the field too, right?
Yeah, my dad was a defense attorney up in Moscow for 42 years, so I was in the Marines 8 years before that, so. So.
Check again.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just putting it out there that I did not do anything with the glossary. So it could be off and we need to correct that, but just putting it out there. Okay. So do we just want to start from the beginning? I think for a little while it's just really easy, date changes.
I memorized.
I assume so.
Photographic memory.
Nobody's serious.
Okay, so amount change, that one was pretty easy. Right to work. Yes. Yeah. There was a comment on here about making, I think it's Greg's comment, but I think it was right about making it hyperlinked. So I did hyperlink it. I don't.
Oh, for the code section?
For the code section?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. And then, so does that all, everybody agree? That looks right?
Yep.
Okay. And then, we took out of the shift and reserved probationary work evaluations and added and kept with HR and employee personnel file. And then union business was edited to, these 3 sections: labor management, union business on city time, and then section 2, oh, I guess that should be section 3. That be section 3?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So. Okay, section 3. And then prevailing right.
And Vicky, don't mind going just test folks, I just wanna.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Oh, that's
tell me what you want,
fine.
yeah.
I just need to give her first.
Is it big enough for everybody? Cause I.
Yeah.
Jen reads everything on her phone.
Okay.
You good? This was like a simple change, provided however, instead of. Or there was no comment.
Grammarly.
Yeah. Working rules changed to city mayor and. And I think we took this out as part of the grievance committee article. Tim's nodding, so it's there, yeah. Non-discrimination, nothing changed, management right, nothing changed. Union rights to negotiate, nothing changed. This is where the big one came in, grievance committee.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I had to hand type this because I could not find the word version of, so like, read it.
Yeah, okay. When we read through it today, it looked
It looked,
pretty gosh darn accurate.
okay,
So.
it was changing the section title and then also the language.
You want to read along?
Okay,
Yeah, lost.
yeah,
Do you wanna just read it out loud?
okay.
Read this, I guess.
So change to definition to intent. It is the declared objective of the parties to encourage prompt and informal resolution of bargaining unit member and union complaints as they arise and to provide recourse to orderly procedures for the satisfactory adjustments of complaints. With regard to the grievance article only, working days will mean the days of the week, Monday through Friday, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. And then section 2 is changed to election of procedure. Nothing in this grievance procedure prevents any bargaining unit member or the union and their superior and or chief officer from resolving any grievable incident prior to the filing of a grievance. The bargaining unit member or the union may select this grievance procedure as evidenced by the filing of written notice of intent to grieve. Section 3, change to grievance procedure. The following procedures will apply to grievances filed under this procedure. A grievance is defined as a complaint by one or more members of the union involving the interpretation or application of this agreement or written policies and rules of the department and or city or disciplinary action. B, written grievances shall contain, shall contain the following information. A written statement of the specific provision of the agreement or other policies or rules alleged to have been violated, misapplied, or misinterpreted. B, a statement of facts as to the manner in which the provision is purported. Okay. To have been violated, misapplied, or misinterpreted. The date or dates on which the violation occurred. D, the date of grievance was filed. The specific remedy or adjustment sought. Strict technical compliance with the terms of the section is not required to preserve the arbitrability or grievability of the grievance. It doesn't like the word grievability.
Yes.
That's why it's red line.
Nobody likes
The written response, okay, see,
I
the
like
written
that.
response by the department and our city shall contain the following: affirmation or denial of the facts upon which the grievance is based, analysis of the alleged violation, misinterpretation, or misapplication of the agreement, the remedy of adjustment, if any, proposed by the department and or city. Strict technical compliance with the terms of this section is not required to preserve the arbitrability or grievability of the grievance. B, grievances must be filed with the union within 14 working days after the event giving rise to the grievance. To comply, a grievance fact sheet must be filled out by the grievant and turned into a member of the grievance committee. Was I right that you guys were going to create a grievance fact sheet?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
the chief is shaking his head, yes.
Nodding my head.
Nodding.
Within 5 working days after receiving the grievance, the union shall notify the fire chief of the grievance and provide general information of the grievance to allow the city to investigate the grievance for the purposes of providing a timely response should the grievance be found meritorious and pursued by the union. C, the union shall file its written findings for any grievance it supports with the fire chief no later than 14 working days after receiving the grievance fact sheet, with the exception of grievances arising from terminations, demotions, or suspensions without pay, which are referenced in Article 9, Section 5, termination demotion. Okay. D, the department shall provide a written response to be filed no later than 10 working days after receiving the filed grievance. Within 10 working days after the union's receipt. There are 2.
I think that's
Yeah,
it.
well-
That's a quote.
Okay, look at it. This is so good that we did this. Okay. Receipt of the department's written response, representatives of the union grievance committee and the department shall meet and attempt to resolve the grievance. E, the.
Can I-
Oh, what?
I just wanna read that paragraph
Yeah, go
one more
ahead.
time close.
You guys have your own internal union grievance, right? That you guys don't.
Yeah, it has to go through the executive board because we had some years and years past, we had some people that just go out and grieve things, and it's just, now we have to,
It like filters through.
wasn't making anybody happy.
Are you ready to move on? Okay.
Thank you.
E, the grievance is not resolved as outlined, if the grievance is not resolved as outlined in Article 9, subsection F, and the union with or without the complaining employee wishes to continue the grievance, the union may file a notice of arbitration with the Lewiston City Attorney within 30 working days after receipt of the fire chief's written response as outlined in this section, or if the fire chief failed to respond within 40 working days of the union's filing of its written findings with the department.
Subsection F, correct, because since we're in section E.
Numbering.
If it should be, well, I thought F is down.
Is F down, yeah, I don't know which section we're in.
I think it should be the previous subsection.
I think it should be,
Are we in Article 9 right there?
Should be.
Basically referencing the paragraph above
The
it.
paragraphs.
okay. Good. Okay. Section 4, arbitration procedure. A, at the time of filing the notice of arbitration, an arbitration panel shall be selected no later than 30 calendar days from the notice of filing. The arbitration panel members shall not be a current or past elected official or employee of the city. The city and the union shall each select an arbitrator to represent their interests in arbitration. The arbitration panel shall consist of 3 total members. Is that clear to everybody?
What's the pool of arbiters?
Well, that's what's interesting with this policy. Sorry, go ahead, Nikki.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think it talks about it down here. It's that, oh, look.
You have an O in Northwest, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pete, are you glad we went through this? I think it talks about down here as the Region 1 Pacific Northwest, like Federation Aviation Consolidation Services.
Yeah,
But
I think,
yeah, I was gonna bring that up because Doge has kind of eliminated them, is that right?
Yeah, so, speaking from having participated in this process real quick, just for the sake of, I can't see you back there. So the way that this actually happened, and your, Matt
yeah.
was there, and then Bentley and Andrew and myself were there. What we did, because we don't, he submitted something to FMCS, which, yes, they're like 95% shut down by Doge, but they still exist. And so what they did is they submitted something to them to request the list of 9 arbiters from Region 1. And then what happened was when we received that list, then we just went through the procedures and we struck down until we had one that we heard.
I'm fine with that, and it sounds like we're gonna try to get an independent arbiter, not from FMCS or somewhere beforehand. And if we can agree on an arbiter, then we'll put it into FMCS, right? Correct in reading that?
No, because FMCS is a federal service that provides the management and like
So
the distribution of that. I think if you wanted to have an alternative, you could say something to the effect of FMCS or from, or as otherwise agreed to, or some
So-
kind of like.
So read that first paragraph, A.
At the time of filing the notice of arbitration, an arbitration panel shall be selected no later than 30 calendar days from the notice of filing. The arbitration panel member shall not be a current or past elected official or employee of the city. The city and union shall each select an arbitrator to represent their interests in the arbitration. The arbitration panel shall consist of 3 total members. So are you just selecting the third?
This sounds a lot like fact finding to me, out of the state statute, and then if you can't find that third person, if you can't agree to them, then you go to FMCS, and then you go through the.
But this is but this is in grievances, right? So do we
Right.
really, are we really wanting as a grievance to have 3 arbiters, or do we want just one arbiter?
This isn't my language, and so to be quite honest, I'm fine with it, and I don't wanna renegotiate anything because it's been, done, but I wanna make it simple where we understand where everybody, if we have to go through this, which we don't have to very often at all, just to, where it's simple for everyone. And so this, what it says to me is that this sounds like a little bit of fact finding, where we try to go out and find an arbiter who's an independent, and then if we can't decide on that, then we go to FMCS. If you want to strike A and we go straight to FMCS, or if you just want to use one arbiter, I'm fine with that too, because I think honestly, having a panel gets somewhat inflated.
Well, and I don't know if maybe this is part of the language that she had stricken, was that the way it was described in the last agreement was we were already to have that list identified of who was gonna be, and we
We
and not.
just don't do it because
Yeah,
we
it's
don't
not
do it
something
very
that
often.
we do.
Right.
So if it's not something that we're really gonna hold ourselves to, then
Right.
why do we even have it?
Exactly. And so I'm fine if your council is saying that you'd rather have one arbiter and not a panel, and we just go straight to the one arbiter, like. we
Well, I'm
kinda
not
didn't-
saying that,
Okay.
I'm just saying that that's what
I
happened.
don't mean to put words in your mouth.
Respectful of your position.
Yes.
I'm just reiterating what actually happened this go around when we came down to submitting or selecting the
Yeah.
arbitration.
And who knows where things are gonna be in
Panel,
4 years. too.
We only selected one person,
Right.
and the attorneys agreed that it was best amongst everybody to just select an individual instead of shelling out for 3 arbiters.
Yes, and I agree.
So do we
Well, I'm
take
fine,
A out,
I'm fine changing this to how you want it to run. And
and then
I-
say within 30 calendar days after notice of arbitration, the union or city may request a list.
that's the way that most
Method of
most
selection
grievance procedures operate.
shall be selected. I mean, we can modify it so it's not third member, but go back in
Right.
to. Right.
Is it talk, yeah, flipping a coin. So I honestly, I think that if I were to adjust this, I would strike A. And then just say that if we, to the independent arbiter and get rid of the panel, again, I don't want,
So A was within 30 days.
right,
We want to say 20 or 30 here.
oh, it should be 30, because it
Okay,
takes a bit.
yeah,
I don't want to hamstring anybody.
no, you're not.
That's how I said. 30 days.
Oh my gosh, it's slow.
Well, I'm just questioning because you talk about. So I pulled it up on mine because I legitimately can't read that.
Good. I
So,
can't do this.
so is there somewhere else where you have identified the other two members of the arbitration panel? Because you go from intent, election of procedure, grievance procedure, and then arbitration procedure. But I don't see anywhere else before sub A where you talk about the other two arbiters.
And just knowing language in Idaho, that's a little bit different language for grievance arbitration with a fact finding type panel.
Mhm.
So that's why I was like, but I was fine with it because. I mean, it's a procedure and a means to an end, but I think it's a much more simple. If you were to go to arbitration, to just have one arbiter that you decide from the list and you flip a coin and you get to that arbiter and the person who's in next.
Yeah, because you go straight off in subsection A that says the method of selection shall be conducted no later than 10 calendar days after receipt of the list. The one remaining shall be the selected third member and lead arbiter. Party who strikes first name shall be determined by flip of a coin. That's what we did. Written notice of the appointment will be signed by both parties, mailed to the arbiter. That's what we did. But you talk about an arbitration panel, but I don't see where it's otherwise mentioned in that section. So instead of referring, I mean, I don't know if this is something that, for the sake of clarifying it, I mean, I would assume the union's gonna have someone representing them. The city would have someone representing them. Those leaders would work in following this striking process to select the arbiter. And instead of having 3 arbiters, you're gonna have the main arbiter, and then each side will have someone representing their interests.
Right, and if I were a federal arbiter, I would not want 2 other people
Yeah,
trying to sway me in my process, so I'm.
With whatever training or whatever.
Right,
yeah.
because federal arbiters are very much judges,
Working with a professional.
right, and they want to be able to make decisions. So,
yeah, I mean, I would just, if both sides,
Yeah.
based on like practical, you know, having been there for this process, it would be probably easier for all parties if you described a process in which the primary representatives, whoever each determines that they go through, they are the ones that, instead of referring to it as like an arbitration panel, just refer to it as some kind of, you know, something where you're selecting your arbiter.
I think kind of reflective is good. I
Does
would,
this sound right, Jennifer? Like within 30 calendar days after the notice of arbitration is filed, the union or city may request a list of 9 arbitrators located in Region 1 Pacific Northwest with public safety industry specialization from the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, from which one will be selected. The method of selection shall be conducted no later than 10 calendar days after receipt of the list. The one remaining shall be the selected arbitrator. The party who strikes the first name shall be determined by the flip of a coin. Written notice of the appointment of the selected arbitrator shall be signed by both parties and mailed to said arbitrator within 5 working days after the selection.
I would make one suggestion,
Okay,
the union or city shall request a list of arbitrators, because
I will
I don't
shout.
understand. It's may, if we're going down the process, we have to go down the process. Is that,
Unless you wanna propose an alternate,
which I don't know that,
I don't know where
That would
they're
just-
at this
yeah.
time.
yeah,
So
So
bargain.
yeah. I think it should be shown.
And I do wanna note that it was Matt who flipped a coin from DC.
Yeah.
And we just,
Yeah, how did we put the point in DC,
yeah,
did he like the camera and show?
it was his phone. We just said, okay, he's like, okay, I'm flipping the coin.
No, I just got a brand new idea for an app.
I'm gonna take away lead arbitrator
Point
here,
On the app. So,
wanting everybody to see what.
I have an
that's
app for that.
oh, that it exists.
My son uses it all the time.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Delayed.
That's provided,
But that's,
Thank you.
but that's what
An arbitrator,
I mean, we
right?
mutually
Not
agree that
panel.
that's probably what the intent was.
And I think that's correct,
Yeah.
and I think this is.
And you could call it like the arbitration selection team. I don't know what you wanna do, but.
Make anything fancy.
But that's how, in practice, that's how we did it. Using the best intent of the current contract language.
And any of the arbitrations that I've negotiated or been involved with, have always kind of followed that.
I'm just taking out lead from arbitrator.
I think in that first sentence, it needs to be arbitrator, not arbitration also.
And
An arbitrator. Okay, I hyperlinked that and this is.
it's pretty nice to be able to, as an intern, get to go through that process.
It was a very,
Yeah.
it's a very good experience.
Yeah.
So I mean, fortunate for all of you.
Well, I mean, it,
There's a process, a learning
Here's the
experience.
the process for it. You know,
Luck of the draw.
it was,
we see the same thing when we go to a house fire.
yes.
It's a great learning
Unfortunately, somebody's
experience.
house is burning. But
Okay,
we
so
learn.
It's
we all-
good training.
We all comfortable with A and B? Okay, okay, Rob still saying like, okay, so then C, we need to take away arbitration panel and just say arbitrator. Right?
Yes.
So, sorry, it's like. There'll be too many. After the hearing, it shall render decision by, it shall be final and binding on the authority subject, only to party right to cease litigation. We go on arbitrator. Arbitration award or arbitrators award, arbitration award pursuant, okay.
Or arbitration, yeah, except
There's multiple provisions of chapter, right? Okay, I did not hyperlink that, but I can, if you guys want me to. Sure. Oh, I think I didn't hyperlink it because it's hyperlinked. Arbitration, trader. Should the other panel be changed? Where do you see that? Oh, right here? Yeah. The arbitrator shall have the jurisdiction of the power has. On the arbitrator.
You get rid of that whole last sentence.
Oh. Up there. Oh, I think it's of the cost of the arbitrator, right?
That's what you're saying.
Oh, each party shall bear the cost of.
It's saying that each party shall bear the cost of their, when it was a
Their
panel,
panel, yeah.
of their
So-
member on the panel.
Does this one get stricken?
I would say so. I mean, you can make it,
Cause basically, we're just splitting the cost of the arbitrator.
Yeah.
And our own legal
Associated
representative,
costs.
yeah. Okay. Okay, you want me to read this out loud?
it's a lot of reading.
Well, and I forgot my glass.
Yeah,
Do you need a break?
you started reading.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I needed to read it so you can compare it.
I know.
You're on your desk.
No, they're at home.
Oh.
So unless you wanna drive to my house.
Got them.
Yeah. She came back from lunch, she's like,
I forgot my phone.
Yeah, I was like, where's my phone?
Forgot my phone. They're great. Cause I pulled them out. They're in the back.
I don't remember
of my
you
truck. I pulled
putting
them
it,
out,
but I
put
did
them
wear
in
my
my-
last.
Put them in my shop. Because we do much
I think
work
these
and all
are
stuff.
the same,
And
yeah.
also says to me, or she hands me my cup pouch, don't forget your phone.
Yeah.
Put them in.
Okay.
I walked to my truck.
And then all this
truck
is
will
freaking-
They're the one. Right, that's all those solutions.
Okay, and then wages.
We walk through the house. You do it.
Oh, I wanted to make sure that we went to this, okay. Change the date. Salary step stays the same.
She have a space, which like.
Are you serious?
Sure.
I wish you would have. Pause.
Okay. So October 1, 2024. Each step of the pay matrix shall be increased by 2.5%. So we'll go back to 10-1, okay? I didn't put in here though, like the July 26th pay period, was that, okay? That's the plan,
And we have it in the sign.
in the mediation, yeah, okay, okay.
I'm not.
And then October 1, the 1 to 2.5, October 2026, 1 to 2.5. Then down here, we put, in addition to the above, the union agreed to one-time market adjustment of 4% effective May 31st, 2025, because that's the start of the pay period.
Yep.
So it'll be reflected on the June 26th pay period. Paycheck. Okay. And then I think like this paramedic pay was kind of highlighted, but none of that changed. Oh, this paramedic premium, none of that changed, right? Okay. And then,
Oh,
Simpson fine, this was my language.
yeah, I just made it basically
I like
more,
the blue language.
more
but I mean,
detailed.
Yeah, no, that's fine. She came in there and gave it more details. I'm cool with that.
And we have a call, we can call into the representative to make sure everything's kosher, and I think it should be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
we were gonna send them language just for them to, cause they usually ask for a copy of your contract. So we were gonna ask them. It's kind of interesting too, cause they're also like changing vendors. So it's like. We were trying to figure that out too. But the money goes to the same place.
I haven't had a reply, so I'm 99.9% sure that's fine. And if we need to, after we sign, do an MOU to make it different, I have no problem with that, or however Jennifer would like.
And then
And then, thank you.
the only thing I didn't add in this is when someone separates. So because these contributions are made so early, this is the first pay period for the following month.
Mhm.
One thing I wanted to add was when someone separates, can their term date just be whatever their paid through date is?
So it
So
might
the
go 1 month
payrolls-
longer than their retirement.
Yeah.
Because we took it, like, let's say we took it in June, but it's for July,
Right.
and they retire in June,
June, and then
they'll still have a benefit for July.
I asked.
We just would want to make sure that it wouldn't affect.
Like, if somebody
Yeah.
retired and requested their benefit, would that then affect the processing of their benefit?
You know
Because
more.
But would that be a terrible thing?
because sometimes you're
If
not,
somebody,
you don't know about
if
the
somebody
government.
retires,
Sorry.
oh, I didn't see,
No,
sorry.
you're fine.
When you retire, if you're still contributing to MERP, you can't draw from it until the contributions stop.
well, right,
Right, yeah.
So
So that's-
I think if it coincided with your, let's say your insurance, right? If your insurance has been paid and it's through the end of that month, and MERP was also going through the end of the month, somebody wouldn't really need to make a premium payment until the next month. If they were gonna be using that for their premium, that would be
we
the
were
only
also,
thing.
like, you kind of made it seem like MERP didn't really care whether it was for the month, for the following month, just that they understood.
Right.
When we're paying this, it's for this.
Right.
So that was the other thing Leah talked about was like, could we take in June for June? Or, cause we have some benefits like that.
Right.
Like our health insurance is like MERP, but we might have a benefit where we're taking it in the month for the month, right?
You pay it in arrears.
Yeah, which would be a lot easier, but I wasn't sure if we were locked in with.
It's really like the member, like if they can't access their benefit because they still have a.
Like
Of course,
if
the
they,
benefit would be submitted in June though, but they just couldn't access it until.
yeah, I mean, I think let's say they retire in July or in June, but we've already submitted July's contribution. I think they probably just wouldn't be able to get retirement benefits from MERP until August.
Correct. Which I think is,
It's more credit service.
yeah, which is fine.
You've already paid into
Right.
it.
Right, and I don't, I'm trying to figure out the problem we're identifying and trying to solve.
Well, it would
Doesn't
be like if
exist.
they
Right.
expected that MERP payment in July, so let's say pay for their health insurance.
Yeah, and then I'm,
They'd have 1 month.
yeah.
Because you're getting it monthly, right?
Cause on our
So-
side, what would happen is Carolyn would then have to do a correction and take that money that you sent to her. And that can be really tricky for her to do.
Yes, well, okay.
And if it's not done on time, and then suddenly you don't have any more paychecks, we don't have a good way of correcting it. I think we actually have to have MERP like physically mail us a check back. And then we have to like give it back to the employee.
But like,
just becomes a
your
really messy
contribution, so like,
process.
if you're okay with having that extra month of coverage.
I'm fine with that, and I'm also fine with not putting so much detail into the contract that we don't have the freedom to sit down and say, oh, this is the easiest way to do it without
Mhm.
a member. Or without a member looking at the contract and saying, oh, you're supposed to do it this way. I want to be able to have enough flexibility to be able to work within the world and also.
Well, and that's why we kind of thought that like month of October, where they're already filling out their benefit paperwork for changes, that
Yeah,
this is just one more,
Mhm.
what do you wanna do?
yeah, and
Yeah.
then same with that last sentence, newly eligible union members will begin contributions the month following their eligibility date. So if someone's hired in June, in July, we would still have to do 2 contribution catch-ups for July and August, but we wouldn't have to do 3 for June, July, and August.
So when dealing with
Members are
long-term
returned.
disability, and this is what I think I was confused with when we were application, is that when I asked this question of long-term disability, they said, oh, well, the previous payment from the previous month just falls to the new employee the next month. Everything works out in the wash, which I didn't really appreciate, so I thought that was a little bit weird. Because we had, I think one of our members who hurt his knee, he hadn't yet made a contribution, but he was still covered under the policy.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I'm fine with however you guys wanna write it. Again,
Well, we're seeing that it would be beneficial to your members because.
Yeah.
I mean, well, maybe depending on how someone feels, 'cause maybe they want 3 contributions taken instead of 2.
Yeah,
So I guess it's really depends on how.
okay.
Is the idea that everyone's gonna participate, or is it gonna be like,
everybody's good first.
okay,
Required though, or just they, they will?
They're going to participate.
is it gonna be, is it?
Is it gonna be the same amount for everybody? Is it strict?
Yes.
Is it how?
Yeah, I don't know if it's structured that way at the same amount. That was one of the
Okay.
questions we're gonna, but for ease of us and ease for you, it's gonna be the same.
Yeah, well, if, I mean, technically, I don't wanna put my foot in my mouth, but that's how you guys want it, but if they're filling out a form in October to like make an election amount, that would just follow them through the year.
Yeah.
And so I guess if they were different, it would,
Well,
that's really, you're the one that.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't even speak.
well, one thing to think about though too is like, what if someone doesn't fill out a form for October? Are they just out of luck? They're not gonna get it, right?
Right.
Okay.
I think that I think the union will notify the city of any increases before October.
Yeah,
1.
let us know what the new
And
one's gonna
if we
be.
don't, and we forget, or if it's on us,
It'll just
then it's
make
gonna be
it
$75,
stay the same.
and it's gonna stay the same.
Yeah, and then anyone that doesn't fill out a form during October just won't
Right.
get their contributions. for
And
the year.
so, do you want everybody to fill out a form, or do you just want the union to know?
I think that they, well, I don't know. I think that they should probably fill out a form so that we have their signature.
So I'm
Authorizing
fine.
it,
Yeah,
because there's nothing that we
Makes
deduct
sense.
from someone's paycheck that they haven't
Authorized.
authorized.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
too, that allows, if someone doesn't wanna do it for the next year, they just don't have to do a form.
Okay.
If for some reason someone would rather,
Like if the rules of MERP made it mandatory, that might be different, but
I
it
don't-
doesn't sound like that's.
I
what
don't
it
know that it does, but at the same time, it's really hard to make sure a young, dumb members, I don't mean to say dumb, I say that tongue in cheek, are contributing enough to make sure that they're where they need to be in retirement. And that's something that, as the old guys, we really try to get them to do.
Well, they're
So,
kind of funding for you, right? For you guys, in a way, sort of.
I
and
guess.
then when they're the older guys, the young ones.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
that's
very-
kinda how the
yes,
plan,
yeah,
like,
Yeah, it's like the
keeps
social security
momentum.
thing. So yeah, I'm, again, if you wanna, you put as much detail as you'd like. I mean, if you want us to fill out a form, I think that's it. I think that makes sense because they're making payroll contributions. And then I think it'd be easiest if we decide as a group what the amount's gonna be. It's like, I don't know if it has to be the same or not. I thought it did too, but I wasn't sure if that was.
Did we start with our deal from
Yeah.
the city or that would start? I didn't know.
I know that has to be in increments of like $25, 75.
Yeah.
I don't,
That
think-
buys you like so many, like every 25 is a credit, right?
Right.
Basically, and then you have a volume
Yeah.
of credits at the end.
And you get more credits when you're younger than when you're older. The more dollars you put in when you're young, the more credits you get, and then as you age, you don't get as many credits because you're old, I guess.
Yeah, I read the plan document, but I was like.
Again. As much detail, or you can, the union and HR fire chief, can meet time to time to make best practice.
Are you thinking like, together we can come up with like a procedure?
Yeah, I like procedures.
Yeah, Amy, wouldn't that be best for your crew to have just a payroll procedure that we follow? Or I guess it sounds like you're the one that puts it in.
You know, all the work.
well,
Yeah.
for like Carolyn's, for payroll's purposes, it would be easiest if everyone did the same amount. And not like, I elect 25, I elect 50, I elect 200. That would be, I would say probably Carolyn's preference.
And I honestly don't think it's illegal for us to say we will agree to contribute the same amount.
Like together as a
As a
union,
union.
you guys are agreeing that you're doing this.
Maybe we still take questions.
I don't think so.
I mean, I think you could simplify this language to just be,
I texted Becky.
you know, that the union member, something that
Kinda
indicates the union members are gonna to contribute monthly, and that the timing of when those elections need to be made, and then maybe the period or when the deduction coincides to the benefit line, and then the rest we could do in a procedural document. Okay. You know, just cover like the.
Like
the
the
key
form that you'll
points
fill
that
out.
you need to
Have you guys thought about when you wanna start doing?
Yeah, I was hoping this or next month, but I mean, I don't want to.
Give me, put that in there.
Uh,
That was in July.
You say July or August? I think you're right. I think you're right. Which is,
I know our members would like
I,
to do it as soon as possible.
which isn't such a bad thing because the vendor changes July 1.
Yeah, it'd be easy.
Yeah,
So that way there may not be like any cross misinformation.
I'm fine with that. I think that's what we decided.
Yeah,
I think the
second paycheck in July.
I think we can,
So the
August
easiest way through this is just that the union and, cities shall, mutually agree on processes to, for the easiest,
I'm in here too.
management.
Oh. Yeah, do you just like maybe that last part, instead of having once enrolled union members or not withdraw, because that's something we can just put in the procedures.
take this part out.
Yeah, and just say the union and HR will. Are you comfortable with that, Mayor?
I would
Putting
say
together,
city,
okay,
yeah.
we'll. Mutually agree on a procedure,
Like processing procedure.
processing procedure in writing or something like that.
Yeah, and any changes, I mean, just that kind of thing, because then if we need to change it, then it says that we mutually will come together and figure out how to change it.
So like if we say it, this really isn't working or something,
Right,
or like
yeah.
this person had this situation, this isn't working.
Right,
We would be able to modify the procedure.
right, procedure for,
Without going into the contract to change it.
right.
do you remember the last time you made contributions into MERPs, like the union members made contributions?
That's the processing that you did to administration.
2009, 2010, probably.
2010.
Yeah,
Maybe
Between us.
2009.
yeah, it was right in there.
Okay. I think it was 2010 and then 2011 and 12. Were changed.
I just gotta figure out how to build out, I have to figure out how to
That's
help
perfect.
Carolyn build out.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
How that
that's
is?
perfect.
It'll have to track to the W2 in the right spot.
Do you want me to include they will be deducted from the first paycheck for the second paycheck? Or for the
Well, we could
following
probably, I was
salary?
thinking we could put that in the procedure.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I would agree.
Cool.
Because then you're getting like super nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Are you guys cool with that? If in the procedure, we say we'll take it in the second paycheck. For the following month's coverage, starting July 2025.
Well, and maybe when someone just separates, like resigns, then we could do the paid through date, but if someone's retiring, we pay a little more attention to make sure that it's coincides with their retirement date.
Yep.
That gives us that flexibility. We're not
Nice.
locked into do it the same for
Yeah, and
everybody.
we can notate that in the procedure so it's done the same way.
So we'll need to get together this month to get people's election for,
John's free most of the month, I think.
Track down the forms for everybody.
I mean, we might be able to create it electronically in Yoga.
We could probably put it in Yoga too.
So like, it wouldn't matter what shift you guys are on, you could go in there and just fill it out.
We have to get guys to figure out their login into yoga.
You can do it from your
You can do it
email.
from your email.
Oh, perfect.
There's,
You want me to show you?
The dots.
the dot.
Yeah, you go
Oh,
to,
yeah.
I'll show you, go to the dots. The dots.
Yeah.
And then you scroll down
Oh, look at that.
And then it's just
Yoga?
single sign on, so you don't.
and it just logs you in. You don't have to put in your password or anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're already signed in through Google.
Awesome. I have,
Did you learn something new today, Sam?
I have a whole like Google Notes next to my email with all my
All your
logins and my
passwords.
passwords, so, you know. If somebody
If
wants
you
to.
want us to put like a little snippet, three instruction step,
Yeah.
send it to you, then you can
Yeah.
send it to the guys
Yeah, that would be awesome.
and the ladies. Good about Jeannie.
No, and we have,
Oh, and
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie.
She's not more eligible yet. Yeah.
It's okay, but we still have to.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, okay, so nothing changes here. We added board designee. I don't think this changed. I think for whatever reason, it was just separated out.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but, and then chief officer or designee. And then this was added beyond 2100 PM. And then article leave, so this is one that was changed.
Yeah.
Accumulate 24 hours of sick leave for each month of continuous service, changed to 2,880. And then immediate family member. If such a request is made and the member has not seen an attending physician or dentist, the cost of the visit will be paid by the city. And then we added the employee may request modified duty as specified in section 5. So when we get to section 5, let's make sure it's actually.
Okay.
Okay, and then we revised this to say into their tax-free medical reimbursement accounts.
Can I ask a question just for
Yeah.
HR? It's an HR question. What's the difference between resignation and retirement?
Retirement is where you're actually retiring with the city and.
Well, or
Oh, no,
for,
we don't.
well, for not, like, for, no- well,
Retirement eligible. Yeah, I guess retirement eligibility. Cause I
What
guess,
are you-
like, I see what you're saying, cause you guys could retire like at 50, but you're not
Right.
actually. Submitting your Percy retirement, but you're retiring from the city.
it just depends on what you tell us.
Okay. So that's what my question was in this, is that I understand the resignation, 11.6%, blah, 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 so you're not,
So
but if
maybe-
I'm 50, but I'm not eligible until, but I'm taking early retirement, is that the same as retirement?
It could just be separating. And then
I
it
can
doesn't matter.
consider retirement for the purpose of paying out the benefit. If you're eligible to retire.
Cause it's the same for you guys. Oh, is it different if you, when you retire for you guys?
Yes.
I can't,
Let me think about this for a second. Cause usually what we get is something from the employee that says, I plan to retire from the city on this date. We don't have the ability really
to like,
to
confirm that
double
you're
check
taking
with
Percy.
Percy. We
Yeah.
just notify Percy of their retirement date. You know what I mean?
Yep, I'm just curious.
But we do notify Percy that they retired this day. But that would only, I think, click with Percy if there was some sort of application made to Percy. But I don't think you could say you're retiring if you're not otherwise eligible to retire,
So,
because then you're resigning.
right, can you say sick leave upon Percy retirement?
Yeah, down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's clear.
I mean, it
I
just,
mean, I guess I see resignation as you're separated.
yeah, me too,
And I see your retirement as you're otherwise Percy eligible.
but I just don't want to say, okay, so this person, and I agree 100%. I just want somebody to say in the future when we're all gone, that, oh, this is early retirement, this is retirement.
I'm 40 and I'm retiring,
Someone will.
but
Yeah,
now I'm gonna go work at another fire department.
Right. So, I mean, if it's upon Percy retirement, or Percy eligible.
Eligible retirement, maybe?
Which is, I mean, I just wanna make sure that captures early retirement. So if you go at 50 or 51, your rule is 36. You know,
Well, cause yeah, I mean, you guys could retire as young as 50.
Right.
But that wouldn't mean that you would necessarily be ready to quit working,
right,
or you could choose to collect your retirement and still work.
right.
Oh, well,
Cause you can, I mean.
would this language though cut out anybody that maybe hasn't spent their whole career with Percy, started elsewhere and then?
I just wanted to make sure that
was really confident in that answer.
I don't think so. I mean, I've read through it and I just don't think so, but there's some, what, I'm not confident when I say I think. Don't
But I get where you're getting
I
at.
just
and
know.
Like if someone had 20 years as a firefighter in Washington and then came to work for us and worked from age 40 to 50, I don't know that they're Percy eligible to retire.
You would be at 50 because you're vested after 5.
Yeah.
But you were not drawn, you can draw Percy
You're
after
gonna
50.
be your like,
You're not.
Well, you haven't hit your
rule.
look 80.
You're not gonna get a full retirement.
but you'd meet the minimum age requirement.
Right.
which
I
is
just
your
wanted to-
vested.
We got to talking about that this morning. I was like, I don't know.
Well, I think that there it can be.
I think
Correct.
so also. And so, Percy eligible retire, I just want to be able to capture after 50, early retirement or retire. So if they say I'm Percy eligible, you can be Percy eligible at 50.
And 50 in 5 years.
Right.
Could you just leave the title of that section, sick leave upon retirement, then down below, just say an employee who is retirement
retires.
eligible, separate from the city?
Like here?
An employee who is retirement eligible, and you can put in parentheses Percy.
Oh, let's see, maybe we got to spell it right.
Eligible. And like Percy and Percy, is that what you're gonna use?
Just so they don't have to think that they have to retire.
Hire is retirement eligible, retires from the city.
It's just like so late. One. So this is 10 years service.
Well, that's probably intended to make certain, maybe someone had worked with the city for 10 years, whenever they get that higher
So you
benefit.
still want that also in this one.
6.2, so that was corrected, right, from the,
So you have to be Percy eligible and have been here at least 10 years.
Yes.
So basically 50 years old, then you're at 10 years.
okay, and then, it had and non-use incentive cut out, so I cut that out.
Yeah, and so I think you captured that sentence. Employees will accrue and shift 24 hours per month or 12 shifts a year. Kind of captured in the top, but I'm fine with leaving it also. In the very top.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right, we didn't do it right. Yes, service. So do we really need that part?
Or, well, it talks about going
Incorporated.
into the bank.
They originally incorporated more language,
Right.
which is probably why it was in there,
Yeah.
but if we just wanna strike it,
Or cut and paste that sentence to the top. And you could replace what you had before.
there you go. Okay, understood, shall accumulate. This is will, so I'm sure you guys want to say shall.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I'm doing, I know it's delayed, and so it's like,
Well, it's like it got stuck.
oh yeah. Oh yeah,
I can do it from my computer too if you want to.
because yours isn't delayed, right?
Yeah. You just need to find where you are.
Okay, right here.
It's so neat that you opposite, you can both.
We're gonna
So you can just be in here.
So,
Pretty amazing.
Okay.
At the top,
Need to go up.
yeah. Very first sentence of that row.
Okay.
So then just edit it, firefighters assigned to EMS or fire suppression shall accumulate. One shift, so take out the employee will accrue.
one shift per month or 12 shifts a year with any unused hours going into the employee's sick leave pool. And then get rid of the
And then
rest
get
of
rid of
it.
the 24 hours.
Or just get rid of that.
Yeah.
Why is it two different sizes?
I don't know, but that's something we're allowed to fix, right? Advising.
Yeah,
I'm fixing it now.
How does fire work on it, do they have to work 10 days of the month to accrue sick leave almost like this, or?
We have to have Carol on that.
Okay.
Okay, you have to work at least half a month.
Right,
That's good. You probably-
Yeah, no.
Sorry, I was.
Oh, no, I was just.
So. He's
Is
reading.
that okay? There's no way to them.
question for you, like. Normally payroll, you would accrue the sick leave in the second pay period of the month if you worked at least 10 days of the month, or like half a month. So if someone was separating. Or I guess if they didn't have a patient on the second pay period, they wouldn't, because this just says per month. Do they have to have worked the month to earn it, or is it just still the same?
I don't.
Or am I getting in the weeds?
I think you're
Probably,
getting it.
yeah.
Okay,
However we're doing it now, we're doing fine.
okay, we already did all of this, okay. This was all within, off the job, injury modified, employment request, modified duty, the time employees treating physician certified the employees expected to return to full duty within 90 calendar days, so that's a change. And then refer to the workers' comp policy.
Can we, I don't wanna make more work for you, are we gonna attach those policies and then?
Appendix. Yeah, yeah.
It's-
Do we need to say appendix this or just add it? to
As
the
long
end?
as it's as referenced in the appendix, or if you want. And I think as long as you're there, so,
saves you having to go work somewhere else.
yeah.
Should we add that to all of them, like the travel policy
Sure,
or
if you
the
could.
policy? Okay, I can add, I mean,
Yeah,
you guys,
I'm
okay.
fine.
You'll be able to see anything I modify in there. Bereavement leave the same. Military, again, we could say in appendix B or D or whatever it might be. They went, yeah, same with family, yeah, independent leave, same with family, medical leave. Vacation, the only change was we struck that conflicting language, oh,
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, a conflicting language.
or is that where you're gonna head to, Roy?
That's right, Ross was in my head. Vacation crew upon retirement for deployment shall be honored.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I read the separation part in the last sentence, but I didn't see the.
Yeah, yep.
I didn't see the.
I remember actually when you said the redundant, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, we're good.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. And then holidays, this one had pretty significant, so 13 holidays from 12.
Yeah.
Which makes it 104 hours per fiscal year. Did you add September in here?
I did,
Yeah,
right
okay.
there on the second one and
Okay,
the
let me
other
fix
capitals.
So it'll be like, cause this already happened, right?
Yep.
But then we need to,
It's fine if it just sits there.
okay,
It kind of makes sense though, it gives us a little bit of history, so.
oh, so you added this.
Helps you
Yeah.
walk out.
You have
It's
Lily
just a-
paid doubled up too in that sentence,
Oh, yeah, I missed that too.
Where
since you were just on with September, yeah,
will be paid,
where the blue line is.
Big will be big.
that's always like always good for other.
You know what, I learned a new word today called fearless. Fearless.
Oh,
Do you wanna-
no, sorry, I don't think you wanted to do
You
on.
do something
Well,
fearless.
oh, you said keep going.
Well, sorry, it's just the space between paid and on.
E. Fearless.
You wanna fix that? Future September. Capital.
Yeah, Billy, I'm sorry, I thought I would put it in there so you could see it, and then I was like, oh, that's not.
Oh, that's smart. Okay. Alright, so this all makes sense to everybody, Amy, this makes sense to you? At the time of separation, employee shall receive compensation for all holidays that have occurred year to date. For one lieu of holiday pay, 13 holidays, one holiday, personal holiday, add Juneteenth in there. Okay, so everybody agrees with that? Oh, I left this in here because Ray had a comment on here about FLSA cycle, and I don't know if we just disregard because we're after the fact, or if that's something you,
I think the FLSA cycle is pretty well established.
okay.
Oh, then, yeah, we just had that, the one conversation early on about. Does the 15-day work cycle being different than 14-day pay cycle, is it serving some great purpose?
Yes.
And it, so,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
was just my question.
The FLSA clearly states that you have to have a work period and a pay period defined. And
Correct.
Many times
They don't have to be this,
They don't have to be
different
same.
though.
they don't have to be different, but if you change it to a 14-day work cycle, you're gonna get into the weeds.
We have to do the math again.
Yeah,
We don't
nobody
wanna
wants,
do the math
nobody
again.
wants to.
So
do
does the
that.
15-day equal to the threshold pay, the
Yes,
24 out of 26 pay periods? Okay.
yes, and that is,
It's almost calculus,
Our side, like, we didn't talk about, it was just in here, so I was like, I deleted some of your conversations, but I was like, I don't remember talking about this.
jumping into the 7K exemption is.
It's a
huge
whole
can
other
of fish.
thing,
Yeah.
Okay. And then callback, I think the reason I put that in here is because there was language about the 30
Yeah.
miles, and we were gonna add something in the callback that does it start at the station? Is
Yes.
that what we
That's
decided?
what
Okay,
we decided.
so I didn't change any
You're right.
language.
And I don't know if that has to be, I mean, it can be in the contract, or it can be, do we have an SOP on reporting pay? I should know that.
Should be in the.
I think you do have a callback.
SOP.
Right.
There is a callback SOP, yeah.
stand by, I will get to it. I will get right back to you.
It said that on the TA, so I was like, oh, I'll highlight it, but I'm not gonna change any language, because I don't know what people wanna say.
Doesn't it make sense to put it in the contract?
I'm fine with it.
I mean, it was certified, I guess, for the
Yeah.
3 years where the chief can,
would
but
be-
any SOPs the chief, you have
No, I
to.
think it's important to do that because we're also gonna make a change to residency, and when we talked about that, Chief said this might help with recruitment. So if you've got somebody that lives in Coeur d'Alene that wants to work down here,
So.
They can do that.
Terms of agreement shall be
Where's a good place to
For
put that in?
duty and shall be known to our call.
Is that right?
Right after that period, probably.
Say,
Time will start when an employee arrives at his or her duty station or their duty station. Or station,
This is, I think, when they arrive at the station.
at their station, yeah. Assignment, whatever.
assignment?
When they arrive at
I
the
don't know what
station.
your
the
lingo
time
is.
they go to work.
Just
Yeah,
when they
station.
arrive at a fire station. They have their gear with them, they're gonna go to the closest station. If they don't, they gotta go get their gear. And they're gonna respond from that station, so I don't think we need to muddy it.
You know, it's really interesting, it's, she's gonna freak out, the recruitment of, when you work 48-hour work shift.
Oh my God.
It allows, no, it's huge.
Oh my God, Leah just did it.
Oh.
We're delayed.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
It's so
that's what I was
delayed.
noticing, seriously, but I don't
I was
know,
gonna say
I
that
like it, I don't know if I
station.
want to go there, but it's easier to recruit from further
48,
away.
48, yeah.
So it was
Should we
a,
be like a station, or could it be like a soap station?
it's just station, I think it's station, yeah. We very rarely call back to the Asotin station, it usually goes to station 4, because that ambulance is gone.
Staying on duty, you mean for 48 hours?
They do a 48-96, and it's the same work schedule as.
It's called 56 hours.
48 hours on.
And then 96 off. So you only have to travel once every 6 days.
Video games, it's like rewired, they use.
I think was it
Do
all
marathon.
one, the
Right.
post that it was able to.
A week per day.
You know, 150
Oh,
miles
that's
away from Seattle. There's a guy. Yeah, the guy who works in.
Depending on how you got out of it.
I think it depends on what those shift hours look like.
Well,
Go, 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 go.
She'll fly in
You're
someplace.
exhausted.
Well,
They
this
work at
department
12 on,
have,
12 off for.
like midnight
or
staffing.
something, then fly home.
So their staffing model is
Okay.
different.
I
So
think
they
they're all.
They have more people, quote unquote, on staff than, I don't know how to explain their max.
Oh,
It doesn't create as much overtime. No,
You're upstaffed for the days that everybody's there,
yeah,
but. Just because of the nature of the business, not everybody's there all the time anyways, and so you don't create as much overtime. So we basically are at minimum staffing all the time. So if there was a minimum maximum, we would be plus staffed and then you wouldn't be calling back people, there wouldn't be as much overtime.
We have a reserve program.
Wouldn't have the cost.
4 days on.
Without having to come back in
Whereas we would be much more likely
to get called back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the paragraph before that say quickly? Let me just keep following here.
Off shift 40-hour employees called back to work shall be paid a minimum of 2 hours for each call at 1.5 times their hourly rate. Extra time may be taken as provided above. Does this need to be differentiated to say like that they will also, their time will start when they get to a station, or is that just repetitive?
So what does that sense mean? The employee may be required to work the minimum amount of paid time. So if the pay starts when they arrive at the station, you can send them home 5 minutes later because you don't need them anymore?
I think it says the opposite of that.
Yeah,
The expectation is because there's a minimum 2 hour callback. The expectation is if crews are able to get back into service, you don't just get to go home, you're expected to stay and help.
paid for the 2 hours.
Yeah.
That you're getting paid.
So, yeah, you show up and you're not needed. Well, you're here, we're gonna put you to work for 2 hours because we're paying you 2 hours.
Hold over didn't change. No, right, oh. Oh, because there was a comment here from Greg, so I just didn't know. I think you had a different word here, so distributed,
Offered.
offered. Is offered more appropriate? Is that what you're saying? The distributed?
Yeah, but.
Or are we just
Read
going-
into distributed, what does distributed mean? What we do in practice is we offer it, we equitably offer it to everybody.
If you're saying distributed would not necessarily be equal, if there's someone that always
I
doesn't
just
want
look
it.
back to the legal, I mean, it's the intent of the word.
Allocated or?
Oh, good. I mean, I'm not in the weeds on.
It's for, it was,
Got it.
And
Hear
understand what
them
that
out
means?
and say, this is what it means, and agree.
I'm fine with offer.
You want me to do it?
I guess what's the preference? I mean, I don't know, it was just a comment from Greg, so I didn't wanna,
no, I appreciate that.
if it was,
To me, when I did those, these are things I hear talked about, and
well, that's why I wanted to leave it.
yeah,
because
administratively, sometimes it's difficult to,
I didn't know if you guys.
it's what you guys hear people bicker about.
Okay. And then clothing allowance, so I wanna make sure this one's right. Some of this was like part of the TA, but then some of it was part of the. This is all right, and then it'll be paid. Should we say month of, holidays paid in September now?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was kind of an Amy thing. I thought, I didn't know if you wanted it in the new fiscal year or the old fiscal year.
I think remember that part is one of the ones when we were going through the TAs, they're like, oh, we kind of missed that, or when we had the confusion when we paid them out this year. We like to keep them together.
Okay.
So September,
So the intent of
Okay.
that is to. So it's
But
to
we-
compensate for the fiscal year of having to buy clothing for that fiscal year.
so instead of looking forward, it's looking back,
It's looking backwards.
that,
I mean, that's, to me, that's what that says. At the end, if you go in an entire year and you had to buy all your stuff for that entire year. You'll be reimbursed in September.
I mean, I don't know, because I don't really know, like, the way your current contract is, or what it was.
Mhm.
Whether that was meant to be a payment in arrears or in
Yeah.
advance.
Chicken the egg,
I
right?
think
So
it's meant to be paid in advance in a way, because like when you hire somebody, they get a clothing allowance right when they get hired.
No, they
No,
get
they
issued,
get
clothes
it
At the
issued.
end,
at the end,
oh, they get issued, and then they go
And then,
on to
yeah.
the clothing list for the next year.
correct.
Okay, so this almost seems like it fits better, because you're paying it at the end of the year, it was intended to.
So
reimburse them for.
just so as long as, I mean, when somebody retires in October, I guess they've already received their check for September.
And then they don't have to pay back.
Oh, but it's for the time they worked that last year, right?
And that's what I was trying to just clarify, because, and I think in a lot of our minds, it was for all the, the years, the previous year,
Let me ask.
just simply because.
We determine how we have that's currently, like if someone retires,
Right.
if they,
They're,
we include a clothing allowance at in their final check.
well,
That,
that's
would that,
okay,
could that
they're
answer the
prorated
question,
one way or the
right?
I don't think we've never prorated it. It's always, guys have always waited until.
It doesn't
October.
include an allowance, right? So the assumption is whether you work 2 months or the whole year, you had to buy clothing to complement your uniform.
Correct.
Let me ask Carolyn.
Well, and then do we,
I
Do
don't
we
know,
go-
and honestly, I don't know if Carolyn, where she is. Maybe. I don't-
the idea that we go back and pay the difference of what was paid in October?
Let me just go. See if he's here. Easier for me to-
No, the only reason I ask is one member who just recently retired. And he had already, he was on shift or employed at the time that the clothing allowance should have been paid. But just simply because we pushed the clothing allowance because of the contract negotiations, such and so forth. They didn't.
Because I
get
thought we
clothing
paid the
allowance.
clothing allowance.
You did, but to everybody but one person,
Oh,
Nate.
Metcalf?
Because he was already
Retiring?
gone at the time,
Because he had retired.
but he had
But it was
expenses.
after that.
Yeah, he had expenses.
Yeah,
also,
yeah, I
Because
mean,
if we're looking back.
It was gone, and just in all the mess of everything, it just never got.
Okay. Well, when Amy gets back, let's.
Wait, look out for your members. Good after the fact. Nice job.
Well, so, okay, so Nate, and then we need to add like. The difference. From what you got.
Well, he didn't get anything.
No, I know, but
No.
for everybody else.
Oh, no, for us? No, well, that will,
Is
I'm,
this for this
This-
September?
yes. I'm not looking for any back pay for that.
Okay,
So, yeah.
This
no, I'm sorry.
September,
Well, I would just point out that then if that's the case, then you wouldn't have been entitled to any payment for,
The $800.
the payment that you received already was because you were gonna ultimately skip a year. Because you were paying on the front end and then you switched to paying on the back end. So on the basis of, that's what they weren't sure if you intended, because your members would be skipping a year in essence. So they would have received a payment October of 23 for that year. That's how it was being paid at the beginning. But then this contract year, your members wouldn't get a payment until September of 25.
well, they got a payment in October of 2024.
Well, yeah, but that's because we weren't sure that that's what the intent was.
Oh, okay.
And to make sure that no one was being disadvantaged, and not changing how historically everyone was doing things.
Cause we did
elected
like
to
give
make
it,
that September payment on the basis that we weren't sure that that's what you actually intended, to skip a year. Because then if you got paid it in October of 23, that should have carried October 23 to September 30th of 24. And then October 1st of 24 would have been this current term.
and you would have got it in September.
But you said not until September, so it would have been September of 25.
I'm sorry, we talking about vacation or holiday pay or?
No, clothing
Your
allowance.
clothing allowance.
I don't, why would we skip a year? I'm sorry.
Well,
You
because,
gotta-
we-
please vote for me.
because I think the intention was September, which means you wouldn't have gotten one October 2024, you would have gotten one September of 2025, would have been that first year. So in essence, had we not paid it out, that would have been what would have happened. So the city went ahead and honored the TA for the 1,000 and the 800 in October. And you're saying they would have otherwise gotten it in September of 2025?
I don't know that we ever talked about September. I thought we'd always talked about October.
because we were gonna have two separate checks. The holiday paycheck was gonna be in September.
Right.
But the uniform
Right,
still
the uniform check
continued.
is never.
But I think the
With the
TA
holiday.
said that it was to be paid with the holiday check.
Yeah, that was, so it didn't say September, but it said to be paid with the holiday check.
Yeah.
And
that
we
was-
changed the
that's only-
holiday to
And
September.
that was only, I think that's because that's the way it always had written.
Was?
Right, because we always got a holiday check and then we got our uniform allowance check at the same time. And I think it was a date thing, not
Yeah.
a
Well,
skipping.
There's a conflict between the TAs And we figured you likely didn't intend for your members to go to the year without. So that's why
No, yeah.
the payment
Is that
that
the
you were
TA?
paying in for,
December.
whatever, for this fiscal year.
It's just.
October, I think you got it in October. It was intended for this current fiscal year.
I don't think it's, I don't think it's either. I think the only question is you on the freshman.
Back in. So you would be entitled to the difference potentially between the two.
After the fact?
Appreciate that.
Was part of.
That's not what we were trying to do.
Okay. Okay.
I mean.
I
You guys can.
I think in the spirit of the mediation, and I'm gonna probably regret this, but I think that the 1250 should be on
This September,
this September coming up.
because it was mediated after the fact. Okay.
That's what I just.
But, I mean, that can still happen, because you should have
If
already.
you wanna back pay us for the,
Back
if you wanna back pay us for the uniforms, I would, my members would appreciate that.
Comfortably, we've already paid out the 3 uniform allowances for the prior term. What we paid this term, would have been under the new contract.
Was the TA paid those separate, or does it say?
That makes sense.
You
I
know what I
understand
mean?
what you're saying.
I mean, I'm assuming that that's, you get the payments in the contract year for the uniform allowance, and that you were paying them in October. So 21, 22, 23, and that would have covered those 3 years of that contract term. So 24, 25, 26 would be this current contract year. The way that we saw that it seemed like you were half what you were doing, which we weren't entirely clear that that's what the intent was, because the way you changed holiday and uniform allowances, it needed to be fettered out a little bit.
Mhm.
But you switched it from being paid at the front end to being paid at the back end.
Right, which was what the city had asked.
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
yeah.
we weren't sure if that's what I guess there was, at the time, it wasn't clear that that's what the intent was. And so not to disadvantage any of the members that might have otherwise been anticipating that payment,
Right.
we decided to make the September 25 payment in October of 24 until we could work things out, because we didn't want the firefighters to go a whole nother year without a uniform allowance, at a time when everyone was, not in a contract.
I think it was after the fact, Tim, noticing that this said October instead of September. Because it's paid with the holiday check, which we
Right.
paid, which we changed to September.
Right, and which just always came together, and so that's why I
Yeah.
think that, and so I'm fine either way, if it's paid in October or September.
I'm gonna think that Amy would say, well, we can wait for her to get back, but I would think she would want.
But I just wanted this, when we started moving things, previous to forward, it was kind of the chicken and the egg, right? What had we been paid
That's
for
separate,
for
holiday
the
check.
beginning of time?
Yeah.
And now are we skipping a year? We're not skipping a year? And then I just know that one of our employees didn't get his uniform allotment for the year that he had bought uniforms. I just wanted to make sure that,
Cause you guys are looking at it as a rear.
that's what I thought. I mean, that's what I was always told, and then, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Which is why he kind of feels like he got
No.
short-ended because he worked
Because-
that year without.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody who always retires, and everybody's been told that you work through the, the last paychecks, or the first paychecks in October. So you make sure to get your holiday pay and your uniform line.
Oh,
Sure.
oh, okay, I see.
So that's,
But now-
and that's the way it's always been.
Yeah, so I think when the sentence that said the city shall pay a clothing allowance, which will be paid in a separate holiday paycheck during the month of October.
Did it say holiday paycheck?
It does, it says, the TA says paid in the holiday, and because we changed holiday to September,
Right,
then there was a question of, do we mean October? Because I think we mean September,
right.
but because it said
Yeah.
October,
I understand. Yeah.
yeah,
So, I
because
mean,
it said October, we wanted to honor the October.
Right.
And go ahead and just pay out the 800 and the 1,000.
Yep.
So then this
But that-
September, they'll make up the difference, the 400.
Is that,
If
so that's what you,
if that's what the intent is, I think that's.
So then
what
come
the intent of the
September.
Parties was.
the inspectors would get another 250 and the firefighters would get the 450.
Everyone would be entitled to 1250 for the 3-year term for their clothing
To
line.
count for the fiscal year 25 calendar
Yes.
year.
Would agree.
So should we say that in here?
What's gonna be the easiest way for you guys to do that with payroll?
I don't think you need to parse it out, that's gonna be more.
Just that's the understanding. I think it's gonna be fine, because Carolyn's just gonna wanna go into the holiday check knowing what she pays for uniform that year.
So then the $450 to capture, we were paid $800 and we should have got $1250, the $450 to capture. Are we gonna account for that in the special check or the check, second
In the
check?
holiday check, September.
So then September of 25, you'll get the difference. And then September of 26, you'll get 1250, and September of 27,
You'll
you'll
get
get
1250.
1250. And that'll cover the
Can
3-year
we
contract.
write that out for this contract and just
Good
say
idea.
September of this, September this, and September this, just like we did with.
And you can
everything
even
else.
put a statement that says it's the intent
Oh.
of everybody to pay in arrears, and that way there's no doubt.
I think that's
Maybe you just
fantastic.
enter and then say September,
Figured it all out.
You did, great.
September. It's the second check.
A second check in September.
Okay, second check
Sounds
in
good.
September 2025. The union will be paid the difference.
I would just pay
Oh.
whatever, let's just do the math, so people know.
Well, because your inspectors would get
It's
250,
two other people.
because they got a
that's right.
We could
thousand.
say
right.
inspectors. We paid the clothing allowance of $250.
No,
How about
no,
the
the
remaining
difference,
balance?
the remaining
The
balance.
difference?
Well, that's, yeah, I guess I was just gonna do the dollar amount of what that remaining balance was.
Yeah, but call it a remaining balance of,
If you say remaining balance, then you don't have to do inspectors and firefighters,
So
so.
then, will we have another check in October then? That's correct.
no, then you'd get your next check September
That's what I'm saying.
26 and September
Well,
27.
then we're actually going the wrong direction,
Skipping a year.
and we're skipping a year.
I guess.
Well, that's what we had thought was the issue, because current contract term, we're figuring out what are we gonna pay for these 3 years for uniform allowances. The way it seemed like is that in the past, you paid at the beginning of each contract year for uniforms for that year. Cause you can't have a new contract year and be paying on the old uniform, like an old contract. So during that 3-year period, the way the new TAs looked is what you did is you switched it from October of 24, 25, and 26 to September of 25, 26, and 27.
So you're
So
not
that-
missing a year, you're just paying it at the end instead of the beginning.
And so that would have left almost a year period where your firefighters were not getting the uniform allowance. And at the time, we were saying it would probably be in the best interest of the firefighters to pay this uniform allowance at the beginning. And then work it out once everything else is ready to be resolved, and then make
Oh, but
adjustments.
because you guys feel like it's in arrears, then you feel like if you
Yeah,
pay it in September, then you're missing a year,
Right.
well,
right?
Well, we're gonna
Oh
go,
my God, I'm gonna go
I
cry.
know, my brain's gonna hurt.
At least in a correct tax, but why don't we just keep it the way it is? Like where it's a second pay check.
In October. So then we need to take
I'm gonna
out,
send Karen a really quick
I
message.
don't-
It's not here.
so I think,
Natalie.
so you get your
It's-
holiday in September and your uniform in October.
sure, because and
That-
also, it's not prorated, it's not something that we prorate where we leave, so I don't know if there's a lot of point in trying to say, is it something that's paid back? Or is it something that's paid for ahead of time, like,
So this way.
If you're employed, you just get it.
it's just something that's paid
It's something
annually
that
every year,
Okay,
there's
so
no way
let's
to go back and look
ignore-
at. I don't know that you could ever figure out
Maybe just deny this.
Deny
the intent
September,
of,
Well, because the contract's.
keep October. And then just take out, will be paid
right,
in a separate check during the month of
Then
October.
Then you're skipping a year.
then somebody's missing for a while.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you're gonna get,
like,
there's gonna be,
yeah.
you know, 23 months that we go without
Yeah.
getting
And
anything.
just-
At the end of 6
make
years.
the payment. If
Right.
we're wrong, then they got it early, and if we're right,
Right.
or if
But
that's
then-
what, you know, if there was confusion,
I mean,
then.
you still
you know,
have a
at the
retro,
very least.
or no, it happened after, you're saying it happened
To their
after.
detriment.
We
Like,
keep it the
the-
same.
Oh,
Nothing
that's-
changes.
No, you said
They don't have to
remember,
solve any
then-
problem. You can have, typically have
I
people.
like that.
I just have more.
Okay, and then-
Not going to
Like,
have
we
all
need
of
all of
that.
paid.
But I don't see why she'll have an issue with it, because
Either
you
way.
have to calculate them separately anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah, I think if they change it and go back October.
But I don't do her job, so it could be something where.
So your members will just have to know they're not gonna get both in one check. They're
Right.
gonna get them split in two checks.
You can vote
That's
with
fine.
check right
No.
now.
We never have.
Oh,
That's why it was so,
okay.
that's why it was so
That's what I'm
confusing. I
saying.
think it
She
was
needs
just,
to calculate them separately anyways.
Right.
Oh, okay.
it was
Like
just,
they're-
it was just semantics in
Yeah.
the contract language. It wasn't very,
So this is
Obviously,
clear, right?
clear.
Which will be paid in a separate paycheck during the month of October. So in October of 2025, all members will get the $12.50. Reservists will get the
Specify the second paycheck in October, or, cause I think that's what it used to be, wasn't it? Second paycheck?
You want it to be
Second
a
pay
second?
period, second pay, however you wanna word that. Second pay period.
We're almost
Consistent for you
there,
guys, it's for somebody else. Cause we'll get asked.
I'm just happy to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
No.
One way.
Second paycheck
It's a trade. That's what she.
of October.
That make it easy for you also for billing purposes? Yes, yeah.
I
Consistent.
mean,
She's gonna have to figure it anyway. She's just figuring it in
yeah,
October versus
I kind of
September.
heard that second payroll in October has become a beast because we get the
Yeah.
split payroll. We have to load all our new pay tables before we can do the payroll.
After this.
It's just because of how we shifted that pay back a week. If you remember, we did that a couple years ago.
You can make.
It kind of created a hornet's nest for that particular payroll, because then we also have a special pay.
Would it be
If
better?
we do the first paycheck
Yeah.
of November, and then
Perfect,
we'll
yeah.
just call it good.
Of November?
When did it get paid this year?
Oh, November?
They got paid in
November.
December.
Oh, December.
January
Well,
1st.
because it, like, I think we,
Christmas
60
money.
days ran out, and then,
Yeah, I know, that's right. Everybody wants it.
then we,
First paycheck in December. Seriously, I'd have.
If you gotta have it before Super Saturday.
I'd have so many.
Oh, yeah, do you want
What
to
do
put
you
Black
want?
Friday?
November and December.
I'd have so many spouses.
I don't know.
First, last paycheck in November, I just have,
you pick a date in November.
Okay,
December.
last
November
paycheck,
for the second.
first of November.
Yeah,
First paycheck in November, okay.
let's do that, because sometimes the second one is also rushed because
They
of planning.
And sometimes there's three, so you don't wanna say last.
Yeah.
Right? Okay,
Paid on the first paycheck of November, okay.
are we all,
Yep, and the makeup for this year, the difference will be paid.
no, they're saying because it happened after the fact, we're just gonna go forward. In October, it bills you the $12.50.
No makeup. Okay, move on, quick.
Okay. Okay, I'll add in the appendices, in this one too. Time trades, all time trades shall be documented in staffing software, we agreed on that. Via TA,
Are you gonna add something about the payment already being made for this year being different than the amount that's gonna be in the CBA?
we almost were through it.
No, we're not, let's move on.
I mean, you could just
So-
put in something that says, for the first term of this contract, each employee will be paid whatever they were paid. And then for that first bullet point, $12.50 to each full-time employee for the
Maybe-
second and third contract.
Can we put starting November, the second paycheck in November 2025
And then just call it good.
and
Yeah,
on
there you
the
go.
1,250 to each full-time?
Do that,
So get rid of what you just added?
Yeah.
Said 2025.
and then,
Under
I mean, if your
1,250
members
to each
question it, they'll
full-time
come to you,
employee.
say, why didn't we get it retro? And
No.
they'll say no.
Kick me in the teeth like they have for the last.
Wait, did you want me to add something here?
I was just saying for, oh yeah, that works perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, it's killing me, okay, I'm gonna say it anyhow.
Okay.
what?
No,
And
I-
subsequent members.
I wasn't in the mediation, so I don't know what the intent was. But it felt to me like the intent was, we're gonna give you some more uniform allowance, but your MERP's going away. If that was the intent, if that was a trade-off, then it seems like if the MERP went away immediately, then this should kick in immediately. If that wasn't the intent, they're not married, then I don't see. an equity
I mean,
issue.
that was the intent, but again, I don't want to split hairs and you know, if there was, if the $12.50 was supposed to begin immediately, then there'd be $250 is supposed to go to the inspectors and $450 to every employee to compensate for the work going away. And Nate
mean,
works in
Should we put something like,
this contract here.
set up a budget for it, I'll tell you that.
Right, and I don't wanna get in your budget, and I mean, if it's a budget for next year, but if it's gonna be. I don't wanna hang this process. Because it's been too long already.
Well, no, I agree with both sides here, but it's not in the budget, I know that, so that would be a concern.
We could do it in a payment in, just list the payment as, you know, X amount on 2025, and then back to this amount on 26 and subsequent years. Of course, 2026. If you want to put it in the next budget.
So like, are you saying retro payment will be added October 2025?
I don't want to,
Paid with the
right, so it's a November 2025, a
fiscal year
one-time
26.
a one-time clothing allowance of X amount. And then November of 2026, a clothing allowance of $1,250 each. So that way it doesn't get in the way of your budget this year.
So you have the retro.
Okay. I
We
mean,
have
I
like
thought
450
the
left.
agreement was over 2025 in the mediation settlement agreement.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so that needs to be,
That's
Okay.
where I'm at.
Says the uniform allowance under Article 16 will increase to $12.50 effective October 1st, 2025 for all
There
bargaining
you
unit
go.
members, excluding reservists.
Sounds good.
okay, so
Thank you.
So it's good as is?
Yeah, we're good.
well, but there needs to be a retro payment.
No.
No, because it's
No,
like
that's-
October
okay.
1st.
Oh, 2025, okay, so here we go.
Yep, there is an effective date.
Perfect.
Okay.
I just looked it up.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I can prove it to you guys.
So
Very great.
I appreciate you guys having the discussion.
I told you guys to just.
Oh.
Brain hurt.
No.
Brain hurt.
You said to stop, you needed to read this, ma'am?
What's that?
Did you say to stop so you could read this? No? Okay. Okay,
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I did.
this was part of the TAs, right, time training,
And it's just.
and it's just documenting, so
Document.
it's not, like, right now, it's kind of like just between people. Right,
That's
it's just
changed.
documents it.
So there was a policy that you had to have trades approved. And then software changed and we're not doing everything on paper now, we're doing everything on software, so I think that's just what you want to capture.
Correct.
Leaves, they haven't paid back the time trade.
So that's actually defined in the federal law that it just.
Just is what it is.
And you guys just like don't have any hard feelings about it.
Yeah, maybe they don't get a retirement present.
Yeah, some people shoot.
Maybe they do get a retirement present.
Like, before you leave, you need to,
When
Trade
somebody
timing.
does, yeah, when somebody does that, as soon as they announce they're retiring, people make sure real quick they get retreat. So the
oh,
problem
okay,
is,
okay.
yeah, if they got
We're
mad,
working
it just-
nonstop.
It just is, but it's just. Richie,
sometimes it just happens. Is he really?
Okay, so it sounds like you guys figured out amongst yourselves.
It just happens.
That's
the 3 week.
I guess you do it at your own risk.
Yeah.
okay, you just added healthcare trust, great, added healthcare trust, I don't,
It's not really called. That's all.
yeah, it's not called the healthcare trust. It's called the City of Lewiston Employee Benefit Health Plan Trust. What was there before?
No.
I put that in?
Yeah, it says right here, healthcare trust, right there. Do you wanna just ignore it? Like,
Oh, that's there already, right?
So what's this, I'm sorry, what's this article, can we go to the top?
yeah, this is medical, employee medical coverage and insurance program.
So why don't we just say,
You should just say health trust.
well, it should just say negotiation. Part of a contract read, reopen negotiations in Article 19 only. If reserves fall below 6 months premium, because that's the article in Article 19, correct?
Reopen negotiation in Article 19.
Yeah,
Cause it's not opening the whole thing, you're saying it's just opening
Right.
one part of it, okay.
right. In the event,
In the event,
the city's healthcare trust, I mean, is that enough?
sure. I mean, if it's known that that's what it.
Yeah.
When it
I
says this, it means it's mean.
Yeah, it's like, it's not.
Oh, it
all,
had
but I
it
think
said
that's about
nine.
all I understand it.
So,
Okay.
it's not a name, so.
That's why. Oh, I see.
I think Greg also added. Oh. I thought there was something in here about physicals, Greg. Did you have physicals in? I might have deleted the comment because you added physicals.
20, is that where we're at?
19. Might have deleted it, but, just so you guys know. I asked about fire physicals being covered under the trust. With our benefits administrator. And she said it's something the trust can discuss if they want to include. In the plan, so I emailed the trustees. And I think we're gonna talk about it at our next meeting.
Okay, and we're gonna try to get costs, or you're gonna be off.
No, I thought it was coming up in June, but John, we looked.
There's a medical benefit advisory in July. Yes,
Yes,
Yeah, so I should.
Marcia will be there,
so we can,
so if it's something you wanna talk
we can
about.
talk about it more.
Yeah. Well, I should be at that.
Yeah.
Or be able
And I
to
think
be
the way
I
I.
think I
sent
invited
it-
all.
Don't invite.
Yeah, I didn't invite you.
I'm going on.
Thank you for making that ask, Nikki.
Yeah,
I mean, we're already,
Well, Shannon and I kind of talked about it.
instead of them having a physical, it's not,
I mean, it's kind of weird because if you add it technically, other people, you get a fire physical. But, cause it has to be for all,
there's no carve out.
yeah, but. There would be no need.
yeah, they wouldn't, they wouldn't
To
want some
me,
of those tests.
Is it NFPA? I forget
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
acronym.
Why is it not in
Yeah,
here?
14 or 1582.
it's.
It's invasive.
I mean, it's. Yeah.
Cause there's like an exercise component of it, right?
Like,
I looked it up, there's a whole, yeah, like there's a
I probably need one of
cardiovascular
those.
component, right? There's a,
There's thorough
yeah,
cancer screening, things like that.
but
Thorough
is there a provider that does that?
in
Dr.
Portland.
Hilgers, actually, he'll come here. He will come here and the health department will provide him a place to do his
Then he,
stuff.
if it was incorporated into the plan, is that something he would bill insurance for?
I will find out. believe.
I would ask the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are things we would probably wanna.
We would wanna know that.
And then we have to ask Marcia if Regents would have to have a
Like,
contract.
would
with
Regents
them.
have
They're
to process
probably
it,
not.
or would it go straight to the health?
Yeah, so
Maybe
that's
not.
something else. Is he contracted with Regents?
Or we could contract her.
Or yeah, or,
But I don't know if you could, because then if you're doing it that way, where there's this isolated event that you have a physical, and we're paying them directly, then it may not be open to all.
Or can the health trust just be
Because you should be
billed?
able to go to your doctor.
rather than
and
having
request
a-
that for insurance.
so these are, I think, the questions we have to ask Marcia.
Yeah.
Because I think her answer was it's doable. It's just you'd have to, these are like the things we would have to figure out.
Yeah.
So. Stay tuned for that one.
Thanks for initiating the.
No, that's fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay. This was added, promotional examination. I'm sorry, I don't know if that was.
Yeah, I think it's because we did some changing in how.
What is section 4 say?
And then, these were part of the TA that I
Yep.
updated. Then section 4, hiring personnel will be at the discretion of the city.
Yeah, I think it's just simply because we do a. So can we go back to,
Leave it at that.
testing position, we conducted. Section 4.
I think
Yeah, because we don't test for firefighter every.
If we don't need to test, why run the test?
It just
There's an
costs.
expense, there's a,
You just test when you need to fill a position.
when we have vacancies, then we would test.
Oh, okay, I
There's
guess
down the list.
I had this idea that you did it every 2 years in the event there was a.
Or in-
That's what this
Yeah.
says.
So it
Oh.
says, yeah, examinations alternating to have captains and firefighters on even years. So we don't need to have an eligibility list for firefighters all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, see,
So
Yeah,
it's
you're
done
gonna say-
differently, right?
I think the nice thing though, and then, I mean, we have no preference, but the nice thing about having an eligibility list for firefighters is that if you have somebody who's sitting number one, who has a job offer somewhere else and he knows a job's coming up, sometimes they'll stick.
knowing that there's this opportunity potentially. Okay. Then we modified through the email system. Then a bulletin board, because maybe that's old school. And testing committee will endeavor to ensure that outside evaluators are trained and provided with subject matter experts regarding LFP. It's probably just to ensure. I think Greg added that. I don't know how anybody feels about that.
Sure, fairness and accuracy is there.
We didn't do anything here, we didn't do anything here. Jury duty. This is where we cut out. I highlighted it just to make sure we talked about it. That this is where we cut out the. Are not binding.
I think, were we just gonna strike that entire last, sorry, pursuant to the
Like,
state statute.
strike this whole
Yeah,
thing?
that, from the pursuant on. Was supposed to be struck according to the mediation agreement.
Oh, okay, here on,
Yeah, till to the end of where.
to the very end
No,
or to
capital,
the very here?
right there, that was,
Okay,
that whole thing was supposed to.
that's why I highlighted it,
Yep.
because I needed to know. Okay, and
Am I right?
do you want me to? Do you want me to hyperlink this or does it?
Sure.
Okay, so I will hyperlink that and this.
I'm not, I mean, I have no
That's-
preference on that.
Okay.
That's me.
That's what you think? Okay.
It helps
It makes it easier.
It's not hard to do,
Stuff
but.
No, I mean, yeah. I
And then
really
we
can't.
didn't change anything here. Temporary vacancies was changed.
You just.
I think this was maybe, was this a TA?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're all good with this?
Yep.
Okay. And then, again, in the appendices.
Yep.
And then our city's risk manager, that's for the TA, non-voting member, which he already goes, right? Okay. And then. Do you care if I bring infection over here?
Nope.
There's not a space, okay. And get rid of this space, okay.
Yep.
And then- Oh, was anything else changed? Okay.
This thing, it just-
That's
it's
just-
just
Yeah,
clean
it's
up.
not changing, it's just, okay. And then we excluded the residency requirement. We added it to callback, and then I changed the article number. Oh,
Yeah, we don't, I mean, ambulance attendant is
Okay.
kind of a foregone name.
and then. Required training, I think. Labor management, we're gonna develop a training SOP.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't, do we wanna leave this here like this, or,
Fine.
okay. Okay, that is not the TA,
We've already made the SOP, to make sure that they're meeting the
Yeah.
personnel requirements we
Okay.
need and
So we'll
that
just-
they're meeting we went to a competency based rather than,
can I put a space here?
that we could point this to.
Okay. And then no paramedic certification, trainee onboarding procedure, is that right? Okay. And then renumbered, this is gonna go in the appendices, okay? And then renumbered, dates changed. And that's it. Woo!
We're looking for that for what people saying.
Because the only things I really need to do is in the appendices.
We
Yeah.
changed my name to Andy Ockwell because
Oh,
Change it back to Bianco?
No, it was Kirby before, now it's in.
It's a.
Don't call myself.
Well, no.
You guys are putting Andy on the board?
well, will you be in here, Rob?
No.
Oh, okay, oh, it's John, not me.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine, we're gonna have another one. It's re-signature, okay. All right, guys, cool. This is shared with you,
Yeah.
so when I do the appendices, when I add that language, I'll just send you a little. I added appendices if you wanna go double check. And then I guess next steps after that would be to bring it in front of city council. Right?
Yeah,
And
yes, I
yours?
mean, our members are
Oh,
ratified,
and your members, maybe we hear,
we're ratified.
oh, you're good,
Did you get the 11% taken care of?
Yep,
Yeah.
everything's fixed. I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys for doing that. And then, yeah, we're ratified. So when you want.
as long as council approves it,
Yeah.
your members are good, okay. So. I can ask Tanya to put it on when, June,
What's that, Andy?
June 23rd,
Oh, no, yes,
or June 23rd.
And then the Do you wanna wait till your council ratifies to say, hey, we all came together and got this done, look at us? For public statement?
I think they're gonna ratify it. I don't.
Yeah, I don't
think
see
there's
why
any
they
questions.
wouldn't.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I just don't wanna go out in front of the public and say, hey, we came together, we worked really hard, got to a resolution. And then all of a sudden have city council say, you know, we don't like
We
this
haven't
part,
seen
and
this
now,
yet.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's okay. You can just say that we're gonna bring it to council, you know, for their review. They're gonna approve it.
Okay, we're fine with the joint statement. Move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for council at all, but I wouldn't. I mean, you know them better than I would have. I don't think they're gonna.
We're all gonna riot. They don't.
Well, I can tell you, mine.
No, it's not like our
Yeah.
hockey team can stop.
Cool, well, thank you.
Okay, guys.
You can go back to work.
Meeting adjourned?
The,
Yeah.
Freaking eat.
hurricane.
Yeah, we have 18 minutes.
And then we're going to ask me.
Oh. Busy. What time's that?
I,
5 to 7.
literally grab a can of spaghetti.
Do you want to share? I brought some chicken and pasta salad.
Order Jimmy John's again.
Talk about it.
Don't know.
I think he was like, no, I'll bring it in.
Here.
I never really did lunch.
I have leftover baked pasta.
I can't DoorDash anymore. Yeah. I can't order out anymore.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a fee. Thank you.
It is, yeah, like $20.
minute fees at the end.
And if
then
you
you're
look,
like committed.
The delivery fee, the tip.
Meal prices.
and the meal prices are higher. Yes, if you look. Meal prices are higher, they charge you a fee, and they charge you a service fee, and you do tip.
And they charge the restaurant.
Do they? Is that why not a lot of restaurants were
Yeah, and
tipping?
that's why.
Oh.
Yeah, I.
Happy day to the
That's when I got stopped.
Happy day.
Oh, I guess maybe I should stop sharing and stop.
Um,
You think that-
We can leave that part off and repost it.